What happens when Animal Crossing meets Tim Burton with a splash of Resident Evil for kids? Is this a fever dream or a real PS2 game? I'm Joe, an ex-gaming industry pro, and today we're embracing the October spirit with a review of one of the strangest horror games out there, Gregory Horror Show. Released in 2003 for the PS2 by Capcom, Gregory Horror Show is based on a cult hit Japanese TV series. The game was only released in Japan and Europe, making it even more obscure. It takes place in the nightmarish Gregory House, a hotel run by an unpredictable anthropomorphic rat named Gregory. Your mission? Help Death collect the lost souls that strange residents have taken. But these guests aren't exactly willing to part with their souls without a fight. The game strikes a weird balance, almost like it's targeted at kids, but it's way too inappropriate for them. Trust me, the nurse makes that abundantly clear, but we'll get to that later on. At its core, Gregory Horror Show is a mix of survival horror, stealth, and strategy. You'll sneak around the hotel, spying on guests and figuring out how to steal their souls without getting caught. Each resident has a routine, a weakness, and your job is to manipulate those to your advantage. But if you mess up, you'll experience a horror show firsthand, as the guests will hunt you down. The game's bizarre atmosphere is a mix of cartoonish visuals and unsettling storylines. The cel-shaded graphics are deceptively playful, but the story has dark layers. The unsettling reality of this hotel is deeper than just the creepy guests trying to keep you on edge. When I first played, I didn't know what to expect. The game's mix of quirky humour and horror is so weird. It throws you off in the best way possible. It's like a twisted cartoon brought to life, which I guess it literally is. Now, let's get into what makes this game tick. First off, there's no combat. You rely entirely on stealth and strategy to collect the souls of the residents. Once you give the souls back to Death, the guests will actively hunt you down. The twist? You have to solve puzzles based on each guest's routine to get their soul. There are multiple nights to get through. Actually, I believe there are technically 5 nights to get through. Sound familiar? Each night, new guests arrive with new challenges, pushing the story forward. Each resident has their own routine. For example, one watches TV at 6 PM, but Gregory interrupts to clean the lounge. If you can distract Gregory, you might just turn the situation in your favour. These puzzles are clever, but they end up getting way too specific towards the end.
Pick up this item from this specific area, but only after 4 PM. Once you have the item and have talked to this guest 3 times, head to the shower and look for the stars. Take the soap and combine it with the concept of childhood.
And that's how you do that. You might need to look up a guide or spend hours figuring them out. That's where I believe the game falters. The more nights you survive, the harder it gets. With more guests on your tail, ranging from a mummy dog to a roulette wheel, it becomes frustrating trying to juggle the puzzles and avoid enemies at the same time. But I've got to say, the creativity behind each guest is impressive. One of my favourites is the TV fish, a concept so bizarre, but it just works. Now, I mentioned earlier that Catherine the nurse wasn't exactly kid-friendly. Well, she's a crocodile, I think, who's way too obsessed with taking blood. Like, she gets excited about it. Just listen for yourself.
Oh, this is so good. Oh.
And speaking of creepy characters, you've also got Gregory, the star of the show, who you can distract with magazines. Yeah, those kind of magazines. Guess you could say he, likes his cheese? Wait, it gets weirder the more you play, making you question your own sanity. And speaking of sanity, another interesting mechanic is the sanity system. As you encounter more terrifying moments, whether from the guests or from the hotel itself, you'll start to lose your sanity. Losing your sanity is effectively losing your health, and no sanity means you start a gaming YouTube channel in 2024. No, it actually just means game over.
Hamburger.
You can regain sanity by reading books, getting some sleep, or using items, but managing your mental state adds an extra layer of pressure to everything you do. If you want to take some pressure off, you can subscribe to this channel, or there's a game in the basement. Nah, but to be fair, the game is actually quite fun. It's sort of like Mario Party in that you move X amount of spaces and get rewarded with safety, or in Gregory's case,
Oh no!
you compete until one of you is out of sanity. Fun, right? Now, let's talk about the controls and camera. For a game that relies heavily on strategy and navigation, the controls are not the greatest. They feel clunky and the camera struggles to keep up, especially in tight spaces. You'll often find yourself wrestling with the camera as much as the guests chasing you. It is probably one of the game's biggest downsides. Another downside, walking around takes forever. The hotel is huge, and a lot of gameplay revolves around checking the map over and over again, making sure no one's sneaking up on you to perform a horror show. It can make parts of the game feel slow, and it's easy to lose momentum when you're constantly looking at the map. But even with these flaws, the game is still so unique. I don't think there's another horror game quite like it, blending quirky puzzles with survival horror and a bizarre cast of characters. The pure weirdness of it may be enough to keep you hooked. And talking about weird, visually, Gregory Horror Show is unique and will definitely split opinion. It's got this strange Parappa the Rapper type of vibe, but with a really eerie twist. The environments are unsettling, and the contrast between the cartoonish characters and dark atmosphere really works. It's a visual style that grows on you the longer you play, but it may put some people off. As for the audio, it's a perfect fit. The music, while repetitive, heightens the tension when you're walking the halls, unsure of what's around the corner, but you can hear their footsteps. The voice acting is solid too. Every character's voice fits their personality, especially Death, who sounds like he enjoys his job way too much.
Give it up! Throw away all them worries.
One interesting detail, in your room you hear voices, almost like people arguing or belittling you. It adds this eerie undertone to the story that hints at something a lot deeper. As for the story, you're stuck in Gregory House, lost in the woods, and tasked by Death to collect souls to earn your freedom. But the deeper you go, the more twisted the story gets. You can never quite trust anyone, especially not the rat that's using the hotel to pay off his OF subscriptions.
That was a joke.
There's also a lot of things here that show there's a deeper meaning, and maybe this place is actually a mind dealing with abuse or trauma, but I will leave that to someone a lot more media literate than me. It does add an unexpected psychological layer to the game that I did not expect, and it makes you question everything. So, is Gregory Horror Show worth a play this Halloween? Maybe. It's hard to pin down who this game is for. If you love offbeat horror with a focus on strategy, you'll probably enjoy it. But if you're looking for something fast-paced or something truly terrifying, this isn't it. Ultimately, it's a unique, quirky experience let down by interesting mechanics that fail towards the end. For the right person though, it could be a hidden gem. If you enjoyed this review and want to see us tackle more unique games, then make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. As always, have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, and see you next week for some animal action.